Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're tuning in with us today. Whether you're a long-time listener or joining us for the very first time, thank you for being here. A special shout out to our loyal followers. Your support truly keeps us going, and we're thrilled to have you along for another insightful episode. And for those just joining, you're in for a treat. We encourage you to explore not only our previous episodes, but also digging into Season 1, where we covered some real gems. Let's kick off today's episode with a look at a book that takes leadership to the extreme, literally. Imagine being a Navy SEAL commander, where split-second decisions mean life or death, not just for you, but for your entire team. What does it take to lead in that environment? In Extreme Ownership, How U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win, Jocko, Willink, and Leif Babin share the principles they lived by on the battlefield and reveal how these same principles can transform how we lead in everyday life. If you've ever been in a situation where things went wrong and the finger-pointing started, Jocko and Leif have a solution. They challenge everything we thought we knew about leadership, insisting that the best leaders own everything, mistakes, wins, and everything in between. Today, we'll dive into why taking extreme ownership of every situation makes you unstoppable and how it can help you turn even the toughest obstacles into opportunities. Leadership isn't about barking orders or being the most charismatic in the room. It's about taking responsibility for outcomes, guiding teams to success, and transforming challenges into wins. So here's a question. What if taking ownership over even the toughest situations was the key to transforming your life and career? Stick around to learn the SEAL secrets to building unstoppable teams and becoming a leader that others want to follow. Introduction. Leadership is everything. In Extreme Ownership, Jocko, Willink, and Leif Babin share the leadership lessons they learned during their time in the U.S. Navy SEALs, particularly in combat during the Battle of Ramadi, Iraq. They argue that leadership is the most critical factor in determining the success or failure of any team, whether in combat or civilian life. The principles they introduce in this book were forged in the most dangerous environments imaginable. Still, they apply to any high-pressure situation, whether you're leading a business, a sports team, or even managing a family. The book is structured around fundamental leadership principles, each illustrated with real-life examples and practical applications. The central theme of the book is that leadership drives everything. Strong leadership is necessary to succeed in any mission, and the principles Willink and Babin outline serve as a roadmap to develop that leadership, providing actionable steps for improving performance and accountability at every level of an organization. Chapter 1. Taking Ownership, the Power of Responsibility. The first and most fundamental principle introduced in Extreme Ownership is total responsibility. Leaders must take full responsibility for everything in their environment, including failures. When things go wrong, the leader must figure out what went wrong and how to fix it rather than shifting blame to others. This mentality of owning every outcome, success or failure, forms the foundation for all other leadership principles. Willink shares a powerful story from his time leading Task Unit Bruiser in Ramadi. During a nighttime combat mission, a friendly fire incident nearly occurred due to miscommunication between SEAL teams. Instead of placing the blame on the individuals who made mistakes, Willink took full responsibility. As the commander, it was his failure to communicate the plan clearly, and he owned up to it. This radical act of ownership built trust within his team and reinforced the idea that leadership isn't about pointing fingers, but finding solutions and learning from mistakes. In the corporate world, this principle applies just as strongly. For example, when a marketing campaign fails to deliver expected results, it can be tempting for a leader to blame external factors such as market conditions or to criticize individual team members for underperformance. However, a leader who practices extreme ownership will look inward first, asking questions like, did I set clear enough goals? Did I provide enough resources or guidance? Was I proactive in identifying potential issues before they arose? This mindset allows leaders to take charge of failures and use them as opportunities for growth. Similarly, in a sales team, if a target is not met, a leader should first evaluate their role in setting the target and providing the necessary support before blaming the team members. Additionally, this principle creates a culture where team members feel safe admitting their mistakes. When leaders demonstrate humility by taking responsibility, it encourages their team to do the same, fostering a culture of continuous improvement. This is crucial for teams that want to thrive, as it eliminates fear-based environments where employees are afraid to own up to their mistakes, ultimately leading to repeated errors. Here are some key takeaways. Take full responsibility for the outcomes of your team's efforts, even when things go wrong. This builds trust and fosters a learning culture. Avoid blaming others or external factors. Reflect on how your leadership could have influenced the outcome. Create an accountability culture by leading by example and encouraging your team to take ownership of their roles. This will foster a learning culture and empower your team members, making them feel trusted and valued in their roles. Chapter 2. No bad teams, only bad leaders. In this chapter, Willink and Babin argue that there are no bad teams, only bad leaders. A team's success or failure is directly linked to the effectiveness of its leadership. The authors recount a telling example from SEAL training during Hell Week, where teams of trainees are put through grueling physical challenges to test their endurance. One team consistently finished last in every competition, while another always came in first. To test the theory that leadership was the determining factor, the instructors switched the leaders of these two teams. The result was immediate. The previously underperforming team began to win, and the high-performing team continued to do well, though with a slight dip. This experiment demonstrated that leadership, not just individual performance, is the ultimate factor in determining whether a team succeeds or fails. A strong leader can turn around a failing team, while a poor leader can cause even a capable team to falter. In the business world, this principle is equally applicable. Teams that consistently underperform are often dealing with leadership issues rather than issues of talent. Perhaps the leader isn't providing clear direction, isn't motivating the team, or isn't effectively addressing internal conflicts. Leaders are responsible for the team dynamics and must take ownership of the group's successes and failures. The ability to motivate, provide clear instructions, and align the team with the mission are the hallmarks of a good leader. Effective leaders also set high standards. A leader who pushes their team to meet high expectations while providing the necessary support can unlock their team's full potential. This approach not only encourages every individual to strive for excellence, but also motivates and inspires them, knowing that they have the full backing of their leader. Here are a few actionable takeaways. Evaluate team performance as a reflection of your leadership. If your team is underperforming, analyze your leadership approach before blaming team members. Set clear goals and expectations while holding yourself and your team accountable for meeting those objectives. Understand your team's strengths and weaknesses and use that knowledge to bring out the best in each individual. Chapter 3. Believe in the mission. To lead a team effectively, leaders must fully believe in the mission they are working toward. This belief is critical for inspiring others to commit to the mission and work toward its success. It also ensures that everyone is aligned and committed to the same goal, fostering a sense of unity and shared purpose within the team. The authors recount situations in Iraq where they were tasked with missions that initially seemed risky or unclear. However, After seeking clarification and fully understanding the strategic objectives, they could fully commit to the mission and confidently lead their teams. This belief was critical for rallying the team and ensuring everyone was aligned and working toward the same goal. This principle is equally important in a business context. For example, if a company is going through a major restructuring, leaders must be fully committed to the new strategy and able to clearly articulate the reasons behind the change. If the leader isn't convinced of the mission's value, they won't be able to inspire their team to embrace it. Teams need to see that their leaders are confident and fully invested in the mission to give their best effort. Moreover, leaders need to ensure that their team members understand how their individual work contributes to the success of the mission. When people see the connection between their tasks and the larger goal, they are more motivated and more likely to stay focused. Even when the mission becomes challenging, some actionable takeaways for you. Make sure you fully understand and believe in the mission before you ask your team to commit to it. Clearly communicate the mission's purpose and importance, inspiring belief and commitment in your team. Ensure that each team member understands how their role contributes to the mission's overall success, fostering alignment and motivation. Chapter 4. Check the ego. Ego can be one of the greatest obstacles to effective leadership. Leaders who allow their egos to dominate their decision-making are more likely to make poor choices, refuse to admit mistakes, and fail to listen to their team members. Willink and Babin explain that ego-driven leaders often prioritize personal recognition over the success of the mission, which can lead to failure on the battlefield or in any other context. In the SEAL teams, unchecked ego often causes leaders to make risky decisions or ignore valuable input from others. Leaders who prioritize their own glory over the team's success created friction within the group, making it harder to achieve the mission. Willink recounts how early in his career, his ego led him to push forward with a plan even when others expressed concerns. The result was a mission that almost failed due to his stubbornness. In the business world, ego can manifest in various ways, such as micromanaging, refusing to delegate tasks, or being unwilling to admit mistakes. Leaders who allow their egos to run unchecked often create environments where employees feel undervalued and disengaged. Micromanagement stifles creativity and reduces morale, while an unwillingness to admit mistakes fosters a blame culture, where team members fear being honest about challenges or errors. By contrast, leaders who check their egos and lead with humility are more effective in the long run. Humble leaders are willing to listen to feedback, admit when they are wrong, and prioritize the team's success over their personal recognition. This fosters an environment of trust, collaboration, and innovation. When leaders demonstrate vulnerability and a willingness to learn, they encourage team members to do the same, creating a culture of continuous improvement. Here are some essential action items. Regularly assess how your ego may be impacting your leadership decisions. Prioritize the mission over personal recognition. Be open to feedback and willing to admit when you are wrong. Lead with humility to inspire trust and collaboration within your team. Avoid micromanaging and delegate tasks to empower your team members. This will demonstrate trust and help them develop their skills. Chapter 5. Cover and Move. The principle of cover and move is one of the most fundamental tactics in combat operations. In military terms, it means that while one team moves toward an objective, another provides cover to protect them from enemy fire. This tactic requires teamwork, coordination, and mutual support. In the SEAL teams, failing to provide cover could lead to disastrous consequences. Willink and Babin explain that cover and move is not just a battlefield tactic. It's a leadership principle that applies to any organization. Teams within a company or department must work together, providing mutual support and aligning their efforts toward the same goals. If teams or departments become siloed, focusing only on their own objectives without collaborating, the organization suffers. In a corporate setting, cover and move could mean that different departments need to collaborate closely to launch a new product. If one department fails to support the others, the launch may be delayed, or the product may not reach its full potential. Leaders must foster a culture of collaboration where teams understand the importance of working together to achieve a common goal. Leaders should encourage team members to step up and help each other, even when it's not part of their job description. When teams understand that they are all working toward the same goal, they are more likely to offer assistance and support to one another, creating a more cohesive and effective organization. Here are a few points to ponder. Foster a culture of collaboration and teamwork across departments. Ensure that everyone understands the importance of mutual support. Break down silos by encouraging communication and alignment between teams or departments. Ensure that your team understands how their work contributes to the overall mission and how they can support other teams in achieving success. Chapter 6: Simple Plans Win. In chaotic or high-pressure situations, the more complex a plan is, the more likely it is to fail. Willink and Babin argue that simplicity is key to successful execution, especially when circumstances are unpredictable. The more straightforward a plan is, the easier it is for everyone to understand, and the more likely it is to succeed. Complex plans often lead to confusion, miscommunication, and mistakes, mainly when unexpected challenges arise. The authors explain that in combat, even the most well-thought-out plans can go awry once the action begins. However, simple plans clearly define roles, responsibilities, and objectives, allowing teams to adapt and adjust more easily when things are unexpected. Simple plans make it easier for teams to pivot quickly in response to changing conditions. In the business world, simplicity is just as critical. Leaders often overcomplicate strategies, creating detailed plans with numerous contingencies. However, when plans are too intricate, they become difficult to execute. Breaking down goals into clear, actionable steps makes it easier for teams to stay focused and organized, even when challenges arise. Simple plans allow flexibility and quick decision-making, which are essential in fast-paced environments. Willink and Babin stress that simplicity doesn't mean being unprepared or overlooking details. It means eliminating unnecessary complexity so that the team can focus on the critical tasks at hand. Consider these essential takeaways. Keep your plans simple and clear. Avoid overcomplicating strategies, as this increases the risk of confusion and failure. Break down complex goals into smaller, manageable steps that are easy for your team to understand and execute. Ensure that everyone on your team understands their role and how it contributes to the mission. Chapter 7: Prioritize and Execute. When leaders are faced with multiple crises or tasks that demand immediate attention, they must be able to prioritize effectively and execute one task at a time. Willink and Babin explain that trying to address every problem simultaneously leads to confusion and failure in chaotic combat situations. The key is to stay calm, assess the situation, and determine the most critical task to handle first. Once that task is completed, leaders can move on to the next priority. This principle of prioritizing and executing is also essential in business. Leaders often face competing demands, such as tight deadlines, budget constraints, and internal conflicts. Trying to solve everything at once can lead to poor decision-making and burnout. Instead, leaders should focus on the most pressing issue, complete that task, and move on to the next. This approach allows leaders to maintain control and ensures that progress is made without getting overwhelmed. Leaders must also communicate their priorities clearly to their team. When everyone understands the top priorities, they can align their efforts and focus on what matters most. This helps prevent miscommunication and ensures the team remains productive, even in stressful situations. In crisis management, prioritizing and executing are particularly valuable. For example, suppose a company is facing a PR crisis. In that case, the leader must determine the most urgent actions, such as addressing the media, reassuring customers, or mitigating damage to the brand, and executing those tasks in a calm, organized manner. Here are some action items to add to your list. Stay calm in chaotic situations and prioritize tasks based on their importance. Focus on one task at a time to avoid becoming overwhelmed. Communicate priorities clearly to your team to ensure that everyone is aligned and focused on the most important goals. Continuously reassess priorities as new challenges arise, adapting your approach as needed. Chapter 8. Decentralized Command. The principle of decentralized command emphasizes that no leader can effectively manage every detail in a mission or project, especially in complex, fast-moving situations. Leaders must empower their subordinates to make decisions at every level, giving them the authority and trust to act based on their understanding of the mission. This enables teams to stay agile, adaptable, and responsive to changes. In combat, this approach is essential. SEAL teams operating in hostile environments cannot afford to wait for orders from higher-ups during critical moments. Leaders in the field must be able to assess the situation and make decisions independently, while keeping the overall strategic goal in mind. Decentralized command allows each team member to take ownership of their area of responsibility, making them proactive and accountable. Willink and Babin explain that in order for decentralized command to work, two things must be in place. First, the team members must fully understand the mission's objectives. Leaders need to communicate the mission's intent clearly so that subordinates can make informed decisions that align with the overarching goals. Second, leaders must trust their team members and refrain from micromanaging. When leaders hold too much control over every small decision, it hampers the team's ability to act quickly and effectively. This principle is equally important in a business context. Micromanaging every aspect of a project slows down progress, frustrates employees, and undermines their confidence. When leaders fail to delegate decision-making power, they create bottlenecks and limit the team's ability to innovate or react to challenges. For instance, in a fast-paced industry like tech, where market conditions and customer demands can change rapidly, decentralized command allows teams to pivot quickly and make decisions that keep the company competitive. To create a culture of decentralized command, leaders must provide clear guidance on the mission and ensure that their team members understand their roles and responsibilities within the larger picture. Then they must trust their teams to execute those roles without constant oversight. Empowering team members to make decisions not only fosters accountability, but also develops leadership skills at all levels. Essential action items from this chapter: delegate decision-making authority to your team members and trust them to act independently within their areas of responsibility. Ensure everyone understands the broader mission and how their decisions contribute to its success. Avoid micromanaging. Focus on the bigger picture while allowing your team to manage the details. Chapter 9. Discipline equals freedom. The final chapter introduces the paradoxical principle of discipline equals freedom. Willink and Babin explain that the more disciplined an individual or team is, the more freedom they have to operate effectively in unpredictable situations. Discipline creates the structure, consistency, and efficiency that enable teams to function smoothly under pressure. Without discipline, chaos ensues and teams become reactive rather than proactive. In the SEAL teams, discipline was essential for success in the most dangerous and chaotic environments. Every SEAL followed strict procedures, from maintaining their gear to executing mission tactics. This discipline allowed the teams to operate effectively and efficiently, even when the plan changed or unforeseen obstacles arose. Teams that maintain discipline are more prepared for the unexpected, allowing them to adjust and adapt without losing sight of their goals. This principle applies equally in business. A disciplined organization that follows transparent processes, upholds high standards, and remains focused on its goals and can operate flexibly when needed. For example, a company that maintains discipline in managing its finances will have the freedom to invest in new opportunities or weather economic downturns. Similarly, a team that adheres to disciplined project management practices will be better able to pivot when faced with unexpected changes in scope or market conditions. Discipline also extends to personal habits. For leaders, maintaining personal discipline in areas such as time management, decision-making, and self-improvement leads to greater freedom in their professional lives. Leaders who discipline themselves to prioritize, delegate, and remain focused on strategic goals are more effective and have the capacity to take on larger challenges. On the other hand, leaders who lack discipline are often overwhelmed, reactive, and ineffective in handling their responsibilities. Willink and Babin stress that discipline should not be seen as restrictive. Rather, it provides the structure to excel in complex and high-pressure environments. Teams that practice discipline are more confident, capable, and free to innovate because they have the foundation needed to succeed. Here are a few actionable takeaways. Foster a culture of discipline by setting clear standards and processes for your team to follow. Encourage team members to maintain discipline in their daily work, ensuring they are prepared for challenges and changes. Lead by example, practicing personal discipline in time management, decision-making, and goal setting, which will inspire your team to follow suit. Conclusion: leadership is the key to victory. In extreme ownership, Willink and Babin emphasize that leadership is the most critical factor in determining whether a team succeeds or fails. Throughout the book, they have demonstrated how leadership principles like extreme ownership, decentralized command, prioritize and execute, and discipline equals freedom have been battle-tested in the harshest environments imaginable, proving their effectiveness not just in military contexts, but in all areas of leadership. Leadership is not just about giving orders. It's about taking responsibility for the team's success and failures, communicating clearly, and empowering others to perform at their best. The authors argue that whether you are leading a military unit, a corporate team, or a small business, the same core principles apply. Leaders who take full responsibility for outcomes, who own the mission, delegate effectively, prioritize wisely, and instill discipline are those who drive their teams to achieve extraordinary results. Willink and Babin's experiences in the SEAL teams serve as a reminder that leadership is not something that happens from the top down. It must be cultivated throughout the team. By practicing these leadership principles, leaders can build a culture of accountability, trust, and performance within their teams, ensuring that every member is aligned with the mission and contributing to the overall success. At the end of the day, extreme ownership is not just about being in charge. It's about leading from a place of responsibility, humility, and unwavering commitment to the success of the mission and the team. Here are the final actionable takeaways. Take full responsibility for your team's performance, regardless of the outcome. Learn from mistakes and use them to improve your leadership. Build a culture of discipline and accountability, where every team member takes ownership of their role in achieving the mission. Empower your team to make decisions and act independently, trusting that they are aligned with the broader mission. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. We hope you're leaving with powerful insights on what it means to take extreme ownership in every area of your life. If today's discussion resonated with you, we encourage you to dive into the full version of Extreme Ownership by Jocko, Willink and Leif Babin. There's so much more to explore, and the lessons from these Navy SEAL leaders will give you an even deeper understanding of leadership, responsibility, and resilience. If you're interested in reading or listening to the complete book, we've included affiliate links in the episode description. Every time you use these links, you help support our show, and we truly appreciate it. Before you go, we'd love it if you could like, subscribe, and share this episode with friends, family, or anyone who could use a little leadership inspiration. It really helps us reach more listeners and continue bringing you content we're passionate about. And here's a challenge for you. Take one situation this week, big or small, where things go wrong, and ask yourself, how can I take ownership here? Notice how it shifts your perspective and influences your actions. Once you've experienced that, pick up Extreme Ownership to learn the full approach to leadership from those who've lived it under the toughest conditions. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.